prepare to race onto the field. Everything is riding on this football game. So there's a special intensity, a special urgency. Here come the Volunteers. Wherever you listen throughout the world, it's football time in Tennessee.
Yeah, I'm super excited just being able to have under 2,000 people screaming our names again, being able to run through the T and do the VAWL walk. It's exciting, but the biggest thing is being with this team, but also seeing my family come to the games as I go into my senior year. So super excited. At the end of the day, though, we have a lot of work to do, and that starts in training camp.
Welcome to the Talkin VAWLS Network. My name is Boogie Bentley. That was Alontae Taylor speaking at SEC Media Days. I probably should have got this video up a little earlier, but we've been doing the Fall of VAWL football series. We're trying to pre-record, so a little behind, but getting caught up. Going to go through some comments made by Alontae Taylor, but just starting with that opening comment. Man, just for these players to be able to run through the T again, to be able to do that VAWL walk, the atmosphere in Knoxville after that COVID 2020 season is going to be absolutely electric. We're just a couple of weeks away from fall camp kicking off. Can't wait. I'm excited. It's basically football time in Tennessee. We're going to go through some of the comments, but again, as always, guys, do me a favor, smash that thumbs up just below the video. Helps the channel, helps the analytics. If you're new to the Talkin VAWLS Network, welcome. Make sure you do go ahead and subscribe and also click that bell for notifications. You won't miss out when we go live or when we drop new content. So let's kind of go through some of these comments that Alontae Taylor made. Again, good representative for the University of Tennessee. Alontae Taylor and VAWLS Jones Jr., both very well spoken. They showed leadership. So I'm excited about what these two kids can do for their senior seasons. But let's go through some of the comments here.
I wouldn't say it was discouraging. We knew that it was a big dent into our team when everything happened. So, talking to those guys reached out to me. I reached out to those guys and just wish them the best. I know I'm big on making sure you do what's best for your family and yourself. So seeing those guys go was hard just because we built that relationship. And from that, we will have a family forever. And as far as why did I stay, I'm the third in my family to go to college, and I told my mom that I would get my degree before I left. I tried to get that in 3 years last year, but it didn't really work that way. But that was one reason, and the second reason was this is my state. I'm from the state of Tennessee, and the University of Tennessee means a lot to me. Wearing orange and white is a privilege, and it's bigger than me, and wearing that power T on my chest is bigger than me. So staying here and going somewhere else were never really too hard of a decision to make. I knew I wanted to stay at the University of Tennessee, and I tried to keep as many people here as I could. And those who left, like I said, I don't have any hard feelings for those guys. I wish them the best.
Man, a lot to unpack. There is a lot to unpack in that comment, that 60-second clip. First of all, I get chills. I get chills when a kid gets it. It's an ongoing conversation on this channel. People say that kids no longer play for the school. They no longer play for the power T. Alontae Taylor is a young man that gets it. Talking about it's a privilege to wear the orange and white. The power T is bigger than me. Alontae Taylor gets it. But on the flip side of that, just a mature young man, being able to talk about the guys that transferred out, the guys that decided to leave after the firing of Jeremy Pruitt. You can still love on those guys. You can still consider them family, but they're no longer a part of what we're trying to do at the University of Tennessee. Just a very well-spoken, very mature response to those guys that are no longer a part of the team. But again, I just love a guy like Alontae Taylor that is playing for the power T. What a good young man to have representing you on SEC Media Days. On the flip side of that, obviously the transfer portal, it went against Tennessee in some ways, but it also helped Tennessee in some ways. And he was asked about the incoming transfers, especially on the defensive side of the ball. This is what he had to say about that.
Biggest thing I could say is hard workers. Those guys come to work every day. I work out at 7 in the morning with Brandon, and me and him have a lot of conversations about where he just came from and things like that. But just seeing how hard he works and how dedicated he is to what he's doing is fun. But at the end of the day, you never know much about a player until you get kind of thrown into that fire. So rather it be scrimmages, rather just be normal practice. So looking forward to just going to work with those guys and helping them learn the playbook as best as I can as a leader for them.
Again, Alontae Taylor, and I know it's just words, and we've talked about that with his head coach, Josh Heupel. It's just words until I show actions. but he speaks as a leader that he's going to help these young men get into the playbook and do the best he can to help these new teammates coming in. I'm excited about what Josh Heupel did in the transfer portal, and Heupel himself kind of mentioned it at SEC Media Days, and then myself and the Indy Kid kind of touched on it during our last live stream, how Josh Heupel went out and added 2 incoming transfers at each level of the defense. He added 2 on the defensive line with Caleb Tremblay and Big Deshaun Terry. Then he added 2 at linebacker and 2 at defensive back. And it's going to be interesting to see how the defensive backs, the secondary, how it shapes up, because, you know, with the addition of Brandon Turnage, you got to think that Brandon Turnage is going to start from day one. But I wonder who is going to be opposite of him. You send Alontae Taylor to SEC Media Days. He's a senior. He's talking about leadership. Warren Burrell came on, and Warren Burrell is a guy that could also push for a starting job. But this is a good problem to have. You know, Josh Heupel with the quarterbacks talks about competition. Competition makes everybody better. Warren Burrell, Kenneth George, Alontae Taylor, Brandon Turnage. I think you've got 4 solid corners there. And then you throw in the addition of Kamal Hadden transferring in. You're starting to add some depth at the corner position. When you talk about the secondary, what concerns me is the safety spot. Who's going to step in and fill that hole at safety? I don't know. I think I would probably consider the safety position the weak spot of the defense. When you look at nickel, who are they going to use at nickel? Are they going to go with, could you see Kamal Hadden maybe moving there? Theo Jackson, I think, would probably be penciled in to start. But I could see Danico Slaughter pushing to get the starting job at that nickel position. But the point is, Josh Heupel went into the transfer portal. He filled holes. What was once a weak spot is now maybe not looking so bad. Obviously, the defense is still going to be a concern. We trust Josh Heupel and the offense to score points, but we'll see. We'll see. We're 2 weeks away from fall camp. I'm excited. I am excited. I want to see what this defense can do. I want to see if the additions through the transfer portal, guys like Alontae Taylor stepping up, can this defense prove some people wrong? But let's go on to the next comment. He was asked about his introduction to Josh Heupel and his thoughts on his head coach. This response should come as no surprise to any of us.
So Coach Heupel actually couldn't come to the facility the day that he was hired. So we had he made a video for us to look at as a team. We had an 8 a.m. meeting, I believe it was. That was pretty fun. But the biggest thing was whenever he came and talked to us about, you know, what he wanted for this program, what he was going to bring to this program. But the biggest thing we took from that was how he said, you know, it takes actions and not just words. And he would show us throughout his actions, and some of those actions being us building a team with team activities and things like that, and just building that family feeling. So that was probably the biggest impression, is just him saying that.
Again, we've talked through this point over and over and over again. But when these kids step up to the podium and they're asked about Josh Heupel, that's the first thing they talk about: family atmosphere, doing things outside of the field of play, building camaraderie. And then when you're thrown to the fire, you're going to stand beside your brother. And I think Josh Heupel has shown it through his actions. Now, does that mean wins and losses? We're going to find out this fall. We're going to find out real quick. But Josh Heupel is doing all the right things. He's not just saying it. Don't just say it. Do it.
I have a lot of faith in this team. I've been playing with this team for a very long time, as you mentioned, and I see the hard work that we put in. At the end of the day, college football is a thing where anything can happen. So I have a lot of faith in our team, and I have a lot of faith in these coaches, and I just pray that, you know, we trust in them, and we just keep going as far as they want us to go, and we just work hard in the weight room. And by doing that, you know, it comes with leadership, and it comes with just our own team, not just the coaching staff. So just looking forward to that and just trusting in our team, because I see what they can do, and I just hope that we can just show that to the world.
Obviously, Alontae Taylor's not going to walk up there and say that this team is terrible and they're not going to succeed. But when you look at last year's football team, what were they lacking? What's the one thing, if you could pinpoint what 2020 was lacking for Tennessee? It's leadership. Leadership on the field, leadership from the coaching staff. I think you're seeing guys like VAWLS Jones Jr., guys like Alontae Taylor, guys like Hendon Hooker and Joe Milton. I mean, 2 of your 4 quarterbacks are showing leadership. I don't think that's going to be a problem this year. I think this football team has talent. I thought this team had talent last year. Last year's football team was way better than 3-7, but they were lacking leadership. So are all the efforts of Josh Heupel and this new coaching staff to build this family atmosphere, build camaraderie, build leadership, is it going to pay off this fall? We're 2 weeks away from fall camp. Looking forward to covering that. Let me know your thoughts on Alontae Taylor as a leader and as a player. Do you think he is going to be starting? What's the secondary going to look like? I would like to know what you guys think. Leave me a comment below. Let me know. If you haven't done so yet, please smash that thumbs up on the way out the door. Also, you can pick up the official merchandise of the Talkin' VAWLS Network. Just go to bonfire.com/store/Talkin' VAWLS. The link to that will be in the description below, and I'll also go below and drop it in the comment section. I know a lot of you guys were asking our opinion on Oklahoma and Texas being added to the SEC. I will try to make a video on that if possible, either later today or possibly tomorrow if I get a chance. But that's going to wrap it up for this one. This is the Talkin' VAWLS Network. My name is Boogie Bentley. Go Big Orange.
How